So you have a new shiny fermenter. Now what? After putting it together and checking all the parts are there and in working order, it's time to clean. New vessels may look very shiny and clean, but are often covered in oils or even hiding polishing compound. It's a common misconception that you can simply buy a spray ball and a pump and do what is called a CIP, which means clean in place. In simple terms, you have a device like a lawn sprinkler which spins around at the top and sprays the inside of the fermenter with cleaner and then drains out of the bottom of the fermenter and is pumped back up to be recirculated again. This works okay for cleaning the body of the fermenter inside, but it will not get into the nooks and crannies of all the fittings, especially the ones on the top. It won't get inside all the different style taps and valves or any other device you may have attached. Even if you pump cleaner through the valves, it still might not get to all the surfaces or gunk that can be trapped inside. These parts must all be removed and washed separately by hand. You could use an ultrasonic cleaner or similar on some parts if available for convenience. I've often heard people say the local brewery does clean in place, so it's good enough for me. But I can assure you either before or after the CIP they will be removing all the fittings they possibly can for a thorough cleaning. For the body of the fermenter I use my hands and a sponge because I can reach all surfaces easily and it saves me the time and energy of setting up the CIP system. What chemicals? A lot of people will jump straight for the caustic cleaners because they've heard that's what breweries use. I avoid them at home. They are extremely dangerous, corrosive, and can easily blind you or leave you with severe burns. They are no laughing matter. If you are using them, you must wear the proper PPE and please don't be using them while drinking alcohol. Caustic is not the best choice for breaking down oils. Let's take a look at caustic soda and its usage in a brewery. The most common caustic cleaner is caustic soda, sodium hydroxide. Caustic is most effectively used between 60 to 85 C, that's 140 Fahrenheit to 185 Fahrenheit, and must be used at the correct concentrations as listed in the product's instructions or on the label. After a hot CIP, do not immediately rinse with cold water. The change in temperature can cause a fermenter implosion. You must be equally careful with CO2 and caustic. When they mix, an implosion can occur. CO2 also reduces the effectiveness of the caustic, so do not push caustic around using CO2. Here's a demonstration from the Paul Mueller company. Links to the full video will be below in the description.
Today we're going to demonstrate what happens if you hot CIP a tank and follow that hot CIP with a cold rinse. We're going to use a 55-gallon drum here with hot water in it to demonstrate our tank being hot CIP'd. So here we have our model tank that's been hot cleaned, and now we're getting ready to rinse with cold water. I have it sealed up, and this demonstrates what happens when you have improper vacuum relief. Now we're going to rinse it with cold water and watch what happens. In order to demonstrate how this happens, we have a milk carton, which is our model beer fermenter. This milk carton is full of carbon dioxide, and we have our cleaner, our sodium hydroxide, that we're going to add to the fermenter, and we're going to watch what happens. We mix it up, just like what happens during tank CIP, and as you can see, it's starting to implode the tank. What's actually happening is the reaction between carbon dioxide gas and sodium hydroxide liquid, and the product is sodium bicarbonate, solid. This is what causes the vacuum to happen.
So what do I use? For regular cleaning after a ferment, I mainly use sodium bicarbonate, Stellar Oxy, though that alone isn't enough for an initial clean. It's great at most organic matter, but not so great at oils. A detergent or surfactant must be added. Alternatively, a PBW or powdered brewery wash, such as Stellar Clean, may be used. Stellar Clean is sodium bicarbonate based, but also contains the necessary silicates and surfactants to break down oils. A benefit of Stellar Clean over caustic is it doesn't have to be used hot. although I believe warm to hot water is a good idea and makes it more effective. Stellar Clean must be rinsed. Again, be very careful with temperature changes if using CIP on an enclosed fermenter. As mentioned earlier, I hand wash. I mainly use a citric acid based cleaner called Barkeeper's Friend, but Stellar Clean is just as effective. Lots of water and elbow grease. Rinse thoroughly. I dry the parts I can dry easily using a towel, and then let everything air dry. It is important to visually inspect everything for anything you may have missed, and it's a good time to look for any problems such as cracks or rust areas. What happens if you find rust? It's very unlikely you will find rust or corrosion. If you do find a badly damaged area, of course contact your point of purchase and get the fermenter replaced. Let's talk passivating. In simple terms, passivating stainless is restoring the protective oxide layer that stops stainless steel rusting or corroding. To correctly passivate stainless steel, dangerous, highly concentrated chemicals must be used. Although many people recommend star sand or phosphoric acid, it really isn't made for the job. I've talked about this many times over the years and why I don't do it, but this time I'll show an excerpt from an old friend Hendo's video where CIP expert Kyle Smith explains it. I'll leave a link in the description to the full video.
Few months.
Because when you're passivating, you're using about 20% nitric acid. Your regular acid wash is going to be 1 or 2%. And the other thing is you want to, if you're passivating, it has to be nitric or citric acid. Phosphoric acid doesn't remove those iron ions. For whatever reason, it just doesn't. So it has to be a super concentrated nitric or citric bath. That's really dangerous.
Passivating should only be done when absolutely needed. That is usually after welding or cutting the stainless steel. Commercial breweries do it because they can't visually inspect the internals of the whole fermenter and system. Typically at home, we can. And it definitely isn't a regular thing. Thanks for watching. Please like the video if it helped you. Subscribe. And a big thank you to my patrons, because without my patrons, these videos couldn't continue. Please consider having a look at my Patreon. Cheers.